Welcome back to today's episode. Matt from the future here. Realized that the AWS outage today totally destroyed our processing of the original video. So I was able to use the Riverside backup video, which is just recorded over the web. And unfortunately, it didn't record the whole episode, but a good chunk, enough of it. So we're going to pick up sort of a third of the way through, where Mark was asking me about how I built the new courses at the wpminute.com/courses. We're going to get into some other fun stuff like why I already had to change the name for trademark reasons 2 days into launch, and some other fun AI stuff. Hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Over the last year or two now. But was your main skill ever building websites, or was that always part of it, as just a part of it, or how? Let's just refresh my memory on this.
Yeah, I mean, my main skill was like when I started the agency and got into WordPress was building websites. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing it. Would I have loved to be able to just hand this to somebody and have them build it? Yeah, but the money wasn't there to do that, right?
Yeah.
Or even like the time, because even if I was like, okay, let me find somebody, it's the unfortunate thing is like if this is another tangent we don't have to go down, but if I knocked
Mm.
on somebody's door and like post status who's like a US based person and I'm like, hey, can you build this course out for me? Like the structure of it and like import the content and do all this stuff, it would have been like $4,500.
Yeah.
And that's like there goes all my membership money for the year, and this course is free.
Mhm.
So it's just like, eh, I don't have the revenue for that at the WP Minute. So, but yeah, my background was this. Still to a degree, I'm doing it all the time with like tutorial stuff and like doing things at Gravity Forms. And so far, it's a lifter LMS site a year for the last 3 years that I've launched. So uh,
Nice.
they do make it easy. Like I think they did a really like if you're thinking about an LMS, obviously Lifter's free. They do a nice course builder interface, so you can like build out all the lessons and manipulate it. Um, it feels like it's inside WordPress, but it's like detached from WordPress, and it allows you to do a bunch of things, really quickly. Um, I'm actually going to be on Chris's podcast this week or next week. I would really love like the edit screen to just the content of the course to just pop up in that builder so it doesn't have to load a whole other post.
Mm.
That would make it really, really more efficient in that builder. But those are little things.
Sweet. One other thought, and then we can get into some of the things that you had to deal with, like kind of post launch. I do want to talk about another really interesting part. You talked about it. You briefly mentioned it, but there's the course, and I'm looking at it on my side. I know we don't want to screen share anything on this wacky Riverside platform, which
Uh-huh.
is a love-hate relationship with this. But eight looks like eight like modules, eight videos.
Yep.
Um, and then there's also this quiz component, which I thought was really interesting. And you did a short on this.
Yep.
So I don't know, we can link something up somewhere or whatever. But the I liked that. I want to know more about, kind of just a little bit of how you did that and how that idea was born, because I think that's something that like is even more tangible than just giving people information, right? And giving people opinion, experience, and all that. If you give them like, okay, here's everything, but you're probably maybe this is your first time seeing stuff like this, right? Okay, well, just to like, I would think if I'm a beginner, if I put myself in a beginner's shoes, I watch this stuff, okay, I know more now, but I'm still probably not exactly sure. And then the fact that you give them a little bit of a like it's not a calculator, but like something like that, like a calculated quiz where you're putting in information about like your specific position right now and the types of websites you're building and the project you're building, and then it gives you a recommendation. Doesn't give you a specific host, it gives you shared, managed, dedicated, etc. Right? So just walk me through that a little bit because I thought that was a really neat idea.
Yeah. So those are two distinct things in the course. There's a calculator, which, like you said, you punch your project requirements in, and it recommends the type of host that you should go with. And then there's the certification where if you pass the quiz, you get a little, fun certificate. But I really do see that. I want to start with that one first because I really do see that as, value. I've been working with a bunch of, well, not working, chatting with a bunch
Mm,
of other WordPress agencies. And I was just like telling them, hey, if you have people on the team that uh, are developers, engineers, project managers, the thing that a lot of people forget and I've seen this through Pagely, Castos, even where I'm at with Gravity Forms. Like, you have people in the organization. Yes, you're a WordPress business, but that doesn't mean that everyone in that business knows or even cares about all things WordPress. Like, they don't they're not living and breathing. A lot of people aren't living and breathing this stuff like you and I, maybe the people watching this. So I think it's important for uh, agency owners and other WordPress companies to be able to have a nice resource to educate their staff. And obviously, hosting is important. And if you have people who are just like recommending hosting to their clients that they interact with or customers that they interact with, I believe that hosting is so important that, hey, tell your team to come take this course. And if they pass the quiz, they get a little badge of completion, right? And then they can show that to you, and maybe you buy them lunch or something like that, right? Like something that helps folks understand. And we plan on deploying more courses so that it is more valuable to agency owners or WordPress companies that service customers. So there's that. So there's the certificate of completion that people can take. And then the calculator that I built was built with Telix um, from Automatic to build a calculator block so that I could put in the resources. I think the last course is like a checklist and a resource. That's one of the things that took a little while for Eric and I to figure out, because like we wanted something tangible where once they got through the course, they can kind of like apply that knowledge aside from the quiz, like something that they could use maybe to help them think about their customers. And this is very basic. This is for, the freelancer agency owner who's brand new to this stuff. Like if you're a veteran, you kind of know this, but maybe this is a good refresher for you. But we wanted to make sure that the people coming in understood that if a customer says, I have 100,000 page views a month, I run WooCommerce, or I'm thinking about a membership site, and you click these things into the calculator, based on those requirements, it'll say, well, managed hosting is fine. Managed hosting looks to be the leader for this kind of thing. But maybe you see a dedicated hosting environment is like 60% recommended. So should you be thinking about that with this build? And it just kind of helps you contextualize that engagement with the customer so that you're not just like shared hosting
Hmm.
and you're, and that customer's crashing, when their site launches. So that calculator is pretty cool. Eric's wants me to make it public,
Mhm.
um, so that people can see it and interact with it. And it's sort of like, whatever. If you go to like a bank website and they have a mortgage calculator, you're like, oh,
Mhm.
let me see what the mortgage rate is. Well, how much would my house cost? And then I'm on this bank's website, so maybe I'll do business with them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, that's sort of how we got there.
Definitely kinda cool. I mean, if you do put that on the front, if you kinda separate that out from the course a little bit, I mean, from a business perspective, I do see, like, an opportunity to be like, I don't know, I don't think this is unethical, it just depends on what you wanna do with, like, WP Minute. Like, you could say, if it's shared hosting, you could, like, link to, affiliate link out to the hosting companies that you have partnerships with for
Yeah.
those specific ones. I
Yeah.
mean, is that, I don't know. Obviously, it's kinda outside the course at that point, so maybe it's a little different, but that is because, like, you bring up the bank example, it's like, okay, well, they came here to look at the hosting thing, that's great, but they can't get hosting from you. They
Right.
can't do that business with you, so I'm just
Right.
thinking of, business side things, but
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah. I mean, I do have plans to like align my hosting sponsors with the course, in a deeper way. I don't want it to be like, you should definitely use XYZ host.
Yeah.
But I do want to, right now, everybody's logo appears at the bottom of the course lessons. So there's visibility there. And to the back end of my business, that's the value for sponsoring us, because now we're trying to put visibility across. One of the things I do, which I've talked about ad nauseum, but trying to add more value to my sponsorships, because I really think like the friend funds are going away
Mm,
in WordPress content. So I work really hard with the type of audience that we have to get our sponsors in front of them in audio, video, in the newsletter, on the website, and now in the courses, uh, so that we're just giving them the most possible visibility, but also without like pissing off the audience, where it's not just like ads all the time, you know?
Mhm.
So
It's a fine line.
it's a fine line.
Uh, all right. So, again, congratulations on this launch. Seems like it's going quite well so far, at least initially received well. You had a little bit of a hang up, had a little bit of a fun situation though, not
Yeah.
really, but that happened afterwards. So this was originally called something different, and
Yeah.
now it's a different title.
Yeah.
So tell me the story here. What's going on?
Yeah. So it was
Mm,
originally called WordPress Hosting Decoded. And and then we also use, I'm already forgetting the other tagline that I had in there. So it was something like become a WordPress hosting specialist through the course or whatever. And I was contacted by somebody high up in Automatic, like a day after I launched it, and probably a day after it was published on the repository. And they were like, pretty sure this is infringing on the WordPress hosting trademark that Automatic holds. And I asked for some clarification, and it was, just loosely like if you say WordPress something with WordPress in front of it, it implies something official, and you would need a commercial license for that. You know, I asked for how much a WordPress commercial license costs. I didn't get a reply.
mm,
I probably couldn't afford it anyway, but it would be nice to know like how much I would have to pay to have that commercial license, even though I think it's an arbitrary number, and they could probably sell it to me if they thought I was doing something great. So I thought, you know, once the whole lawsuit thing happened last year, I changed up a lot of the verbiage. I have a disclaimer in the bottom of the WordPress site, all of this stuff. Um, I thought as a free course, it would be okay. Like it wouldn't be looked at as like trying to monopolize or trying to like dominate anything. I looked at it two ways. I looked at it as this is freaking annoying. And like, why do we have to question WordPress everything now as people that are like really supporting this project? Like I've said before, my game plan moving forward is to support, and I am unapologetically saying a cheerleader for WordPress. I am still going to be critical on the things I don't like, but I am going to promote the use of it. Everything. WordPress, Gutenberg, WooCommerce, WordPress. That's what I'm doing because I think there needs to be a stronger base. And then everybody else can promote whatever else they want on top of that ecosystem. I'm looking at it from the foundation of the ecosystem, and I want to support that. So it's very tough to be like, man, I'm just trying to do this thing to help people make the right hosting decisions. And it's free, and that's all I'm trying to do. Like I am as transparent as I can be with the WP Minute. I try to be. Eric and I try to put as much great effort into this. So it was aggravating and a little bit of energy sucked out of the room for me, but also like business is business, and I understand why there's rules. So I can also kind of appreciate that it happened a day later versus a letter in the mail from a lawyer,
mm,
or like 6 months from now when like I've built off like many other modules for the course, or we eventually get into some like cohort training that we want to do. So it's okay, fine. It's nice that uh, I know about it now versus later, and they gave me the heads up. So, but it's also like not demoralizing. It wasn't that much of a pain, but all weekend I had to go through and replace everything that obviously replace the naming, obviously replace. I had to do all the graphics all over again, replace all the text in the courses, replace the slides, like do all that stuff, um, which was annoying, but it was better than getting sued, yeah, which I'll take. But yeah, having to change the name was a bit of a shocker. But now it's hosting decoded. How to choose the best host for WordPress. Even like wrestling with the title, like how to choose the best WordPress host. You can't, I guess you can't say that anymore, right? So it's now how to choose the best host for WordPress. And maybe helps any other content creators that are out there who are doing something more official.
Did you consider, just first question, because there's a couple different things I want to hit on here. Did you consider using WP?
Uh, well, when I first got the message, I did,
Hmm.
um, but no, because like I'm also trying to like do the keyword thing,
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, so even like changing the name might just be the blessing and the curse. Like when this was actually one of similar title to what we had written down when we ideated the course name and stuff. Um, this is much more SEO centric, I would call it. And that's what I reverted to. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Just go back to this SEO kind of way. It was just like how to choose the best host for WordPress, and maybe maybe it's actually a boon to the situation where it actually get more traffic because of
I see. Okay.
it.
Well, the other thing then is, I mean, to play off of this motif that you have to deal with then is, like, where does it would really be great to get some clarity, I guess, on some of these things, right? Because
Yeah.
in your case, you were calling a course WordPress blank, 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 right?
Yep.
There's a couple different areas though that I'm still confused on. And for somebody that creates content and products or whatever, and like these things in my future in this niche, I would like some clarity. I think that would be fantastic because I'm still confused. So, like, if we think about like what you could name, realistically name something WordPress blank versus something for WordPress or with WordPress or etc. There's a couple different things. There's a course. There's like something as crazy as your job title or like what you call yourself, like, right? Like a WordPress developer or a developer with WordPress, for WordPress, etc. So that's one. There's agencies, which you brought up, and I didn't even think of that. And then there's plugins or how you even describe yourself in those instances. So I wonder if it's I wonder if there's anything around that as well. I wonder if it's not just how you're using the trademark, but also in like what instance of those things that you're using a trademark. Because where does that leave us? Like WordPress
See,
just always has to go at the end, I guess, of whatever you're saying. I don't know.
so on the WordPressFoundation.org, like I knew obviously, I mean, I've been covered covered this whole lawsuit thing and have been following WordPress forever, and have often reported sites that I found infringing on the WordPress trademark to the foundation, like actually using WordPress in the domain or pretending to be, WordPress themselves or Automatic themselves. So I've always obviously have known about the trademark, and I really thought that this was a nothing burger, but it's the continuous lesson of life of running a business that nothing is certain, and all this other stuff. So if you go to WordPressFoundation.org trademark policy, all other WordPress related businesses or projects can use the WordPress name and logo to refer to and explain their services, but they cannot use them as part of a product, project, service, domain name, or company name. They cannot use them in a way that suggests an affiliation with or endorsement by the WordPress Foundation or the WordPress open source project. For example, a consulting company can describe its business as 123 Web Services, offering WordPress consulting for small businesses, but cannot call its business the WordPress Consulting Company. Similarly, a business related to WordPress themes can describe itself as XYZ themes, as the world's best WordPress themes, but cannot call itself the WordPress theme portal. Other examples of terms to not use are hosted WordPress or manage WordPress hosting. Instead, use hosting for WordPress. So, yeah. Like that's the policy. So if you are curious, WordPressFoundation.org, and then click on the trademarks link in the left-hand side, and yeah, consult a lawyer, I guess. But uh and it's fine. It's whatever. It's to me, it's whatever. Like when this whole lawsuit thing happened, I was also contacted to say you can't say WordPress news podcast. You're coming off as too official, right? Okay. you know, news about WordPress podcast. Like it doesn't matter to me that much. Now, if I was a web host or all this other stuff, like this is why you can tell, like if you're a web host and a lot of this is, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, you can understand why this becomes quite the thorn in a lot of sides, or if you're a big plugin company or whatever.
I mean, I got a couple thoughts. I mean, just like is is the term like, I don't know, like JavaScript like trademarked or no?
I don't, I doubt that. I doubt.
Like,
Well, I'm sure
just
JavaScript
like,
is trademark, but it's how you use it,
well,
right?
what I'm saying is just like any other example of like some sort of large similar platform, like, well, even like Webflow or something silly. Like,
Yeah, I mean, all those
can
terms
you
are definitely trademarked. It's just it's how you can use them. And so WordPress is saying, or the foundation is saying, like, you can use them to describe stuff, but you can't use them officially in the business.
I no, I get what you're saying, and I don't want to rehash a whole shit that we went over like last year or whatever. But just to kind of clear it up in my mind because we're talking about it here is like again like like Webflow or something.
Yeah.
If you there's two things here. There's what is the reality, and then there's is whatever the what it's whatever the rules are, and then it's like are the rules stupid or not? Like from a business point of view and like a marketing point of view and all this, right? So the question is like if you compare it to something like Webflow, okay, obviously that term is definitely trademarked for sure. But then there's rules around the trademark. So if you if you can say if Webflow, if you were a big Webflow user and you made like a thing called Webflow News channel or something like that, then if they came after you for that, or if they didn't come after you for that, then I feel like I don't know. It's actually almost incomparable because WordPress is just so large, and it's almost like it's almost became in some ways like one of those words where like you don't call tissues anymore. You call them Kleenex, but really that's a brand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, it's I guess it's tough. I just still feel like it's not worth it though because I feel like the pros outweigh the cons
Yeah.
because you could pretty much easily just figure out if something is official or not, or you could kind of whatever. And the reason I'm thinking about this in my head is because like I've never I remember when this was going down, I changed a little bit of like my branding and stuff because I didn't want to be like annoyed by this. But like I have two, obviously I'm not big enough, but I have two courses, like they're just playlists on my YouTube channel. And the one's called WordPress Dynamic Data Fundamentals, and the other one's called Custom WordPress Client Portal. And that's probably a not, you probably shouldn't be doing that. Probably shouldn't be named that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you always have to consult a lawyer, and I guess everything in this case, this is why trademark lawsuits are so prickly and time consuming, as we've
Mhm.
seen. Um, so it's like consulting a lawyer, checking your favorite LLM for some basic guidance on things like that. I'm sure anything can be debated. I do kn- I I am pretty sure that if you're using it in a non-commercial setting, um, that's like
That's very blurry though. Like what
yeah,
does
like you
commercial
would
mean? Like the actual thing is cost money or the
yeah,
or it could lead to
it could lead to,
revenue.
I guess, lead to commercial.
Could
So if I guess like it appears on my site, which is commercially funded through sponsors, um, having that course up there, I guess theoretically is, even though it's free, even though I'm trying to help WordPress, at the same time, I'm also trying to sell sponsorship.
yeah.
Um, so there's that.
S So again, it's a two-parter for me.
Yeah.
It's the fact that the one thing is like there's the rules, which we can't really argue about the rules because we don't make the rules. Okay, fine. Be nice to know the rules, and I feel like we kind of know the rules, so we'll just leave that there. And then it's like, do the rules, then the analysis of the rules. Does it make sense? Do you think it's just an opinion piece at that point? Is it more pros, more cons, whatever? I think there's just way more cons to this because
Yeah.
I can't even imagine a world, and I don't know all the details, and maybe I would get some sort of politicized answer, but I can't even imagine the 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 cons or the problems that this would have caused. I know we had the whole shit last year, but, like, I don't even feel like that was the root cause of the issue, so it's just like, yeah, we don't need to go all the way back and relive the whole thing, but the amount of people that are doing, like, good work and trying to put out things and are getting, like, caught in, like, the DM crossfire or whatever of, like, oh, you can't use the word WordPress in the beginning. You have to use it at the end, and then it just makes it sound, look weird, etc., whatever. Um, and then just like always, like you got smaller creators and people like that, like possibly looking over their shoulder all the time at like what they can name stuff. It's just like it stunts education, it stunts growth, it stunts content creation speed, it stunts everything. Like it's just stupid. I don't know how actually am curious now to and interested in seeing how like a Webflow again as like one of the examples or Shopify or whatever like handles that. But like I'm sure there's people out there that are saying like Shopify tutorials, Shopify agency, Shopify whatever. And honest to God, I would assume that unless you are posing, like physically posing as Shopify or an official partner and you're lying about that, they don't care. Why would they? They want the promotion. They want the marketing. It's free marketing. Like, why are we not seeing it in that regard? It's free marketing. Unless there's a line for sure, but calling something Shopify blank, WordPress blank is not the line. The line is
Yeah.
far past that. So
Well,
soapbox over, rant over there, but
I mean, I think you bring up the crux of the automatic versus WP Engine thing. Whereas you get somebody like WP Engine who is a high growth or was a high growth company backed by a massive uh, private equity firm, has for all intents one of the better marketing and advertising and sponsorship and sales teams. I mean, I've pitched when I was at Pagely, pitched against WP Engine all the time, big enterprise clients, like $50,000 a year and above, which isn't even big for enterprise, but it was big for enterprise hosting. And you would just get WP Engine would just come in and be like, first year, $30,000. And the customer would just come back and like WP Engine's doing it for 30 grand. And I'd be like, well, we can't beat that. So
hmm,
there's nothing I could do. They don't care. They take the loss. They're a big company, got a loss leader. That's fine. So they're an aggressive company. And I think that, um, I don't even want to say aggressive. I think that it is business.
yeah, for sure.
Eh, and then I think part of the issue in the WordPress space has always been we've always felt like community. I thought I talked about this or wrote a post about this about community recently, or at least it was on my mind. Like I feel like a lot of people were just like, "We're all in this together. This is all us, man. Love you." Like love your product, love my product. We're not competing with each other, but really, at the end of the day, when the dust settles, we are because ultimately, as there's more competition, more people doing things in WordPress, WordPress goes through its own growth challenges. People just have to be heads down, like the gloves have to come off, I guess, when your business is in trouble or being stressed out. So I think a lot of people are going through this evolution now, like, oh, everything was great in the WordPress community, but now yeah, we just got to get to business because we need to survive. AI is here, so much competition's here, and I think that was the crux. The point of my rant there was like I think that was the crux of WP Engine versus Automatic is Matt saw a highly competitive company. Maybe they were trying to go public, who knows? And uh, he saw an opportunity to attack them on the trademark thing, which is business. It's just not something that we all really enjoyed because he steamrolled a lot of us through the process, and nobody was really asking for it. So I think what you bring up is a whole issue of what it's like. Hey, who cares? Like we're all promoting the business, yeah. Until you're Matt and Automatic. And some other company goes public first as a WordPress host, and all of a sudden, all the investors pay attention to them. And they go, "Oh, this is the company about WordPress," and they get all the money and all the attention. And Matt's going, "No, no, no, nope, nope, it's us actually." So maybe it was to preempt anything like that. And maybe it still happens. I don't know. But yeah, everything's nice in the beginning until one is getting bigger than the other. And If you're the original one, like Matt and Automatic was, you're like, it's got to stay us, which I agree with. Just didn't agree how it was deployed. Um, so yeah, all of this stuff just
Yeah.
sucks the energy out of the room.
Yeah, it's muddy. I'm not going to pretend that I fully understand it at the scale that it's at.
Yeah,
So, and maybe maybe there's, it's one of those situations where you don't, there is no real right answer. There's no perfect answer. Somebody's going to get screwed over one way or the other. Um, Seems like a lot of the one thing that doesn't make sense, and then we can kind of like put a pin in it, is just like, I don't know how to say this. It's at the scale at which the problem exists, right? Like at that scale where it's almost like hard for us to wrap our minds around, sort of, in a way. Or not hard, but like, it's big numbers. It's big business for the most part, right? Like we're talking about going public, we're talking about these things. The fact that there is still almost like a personal level of touch that is happening at like from the like at kind of like the highest level, the fact that like we're talking about that, but, like, then, Matt Mullenweg, as an example, is still kind of, like, active in the community space and stuff. It's very weird, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird that, like, we're having these issues, and there's kind of, like, that back and forth going on, the lawsuit stuff and all that, but still, like, there's just kind of, like, a weird personal piece to it. Not personal in the sense of like, anything is personal, but like it's just like the fact that he'll still like reply to tweets and do all this stuff. Like maybe that's like a good sign that he's still like in touch with some of the people, or
yeah,
like a lot of the community. Um, I don't know, just a weird situation because it's like kind of like fighting on behalf of the community in a way, and like WordPress as like an open source project, but also there's just like a lot of like weird crossfire collateral damage type feeling to it. So, yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
It's weird.
No, it's definitely a growing up phase for WordPress across the board. So
Yep.
uh,
No doubt.
there's
But
that.
dope. New course.
Yep.
Exciting.
Yep. The
New name.
wpminute.com/courses. It's got a new name a couple days in. And yeah, go check it out. If you work for a WordPress agency or a product company, ask your boss to take it. It's free.
Hmm.
If you're a WordPress, excuse me, a WordPress agency that is, consulting with a client, or especially like a bigger client, maybe they need a little help understanding what good hosting means. You can send them to the wpminute.com/courses as well. Get a little bit of education and more courses coming soon, little mini crash courses over the next month or so, hopefully to round out the end of the year. And good things to come, I hope, in 2026, because it'll be here before you know it.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else before we sign off?
I think that's it. This is a really concise one rather than our AI rabbit holes and everything. So we should probably just wrap it up.
Maybe we should just make this an AI podcast. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. We can just focus on AI. I've been getting a lot more into Manus AI. Have you come across that one yet?
Bro,
For just
you're
the
so
audio
deep.
listeners,
You're
Mark just
so deep.
rolled his eyes. He was just like, I can't believe there's another one.
You were up
Uh,
to your eyeballs in
here's the
LLMs and platforms.
here's the quick I'm only experimenting as I
Mm.
do, and what I found Manus to do well is if you've been using LLMs for a little while and you're like maybe heavy into ChatGPT and using projects and stuff like that in ChatGPT, and you're using it for like a lot of research stuff, I think Manus feels anyway like it ties that kind of like research thing into vibe coding at the same time, and it will build like little Python, like for instance, if you're asking it to research things, it'll build like Python scripts, and it will like access content and analyze content and have it ready for you to do more with it, like build a little app kind of thing. And I was testing that this weekend. I tweeted out the top 50 WordPress agencies, which can we say that still? So the
Nobody
top
knows.
50 WordPress agencies, I tweeted it out. So I did deep research on ChatGPT in a project. I asked it to find well, at first I asked it to find me the top 100, and it just said it couldn't do that much. So I said, give me the top 50 in the US, UK, Australia, Canada, um, with $1 million plus in revenue, which I know it's not going to know the revenue, but I just put it in there in general with an active blog because I wanted it to be able to make sure it checked the site, um, and saw active blog posts so that it was one indication to say that this is an active company, because I'm sure it could find like other stuff and maybe the company doesn't exist anymore. So I wanted to use that as like the indicator that this was still an active company. So it built me the list of 50 agencies with all their social media, and then I copy pasted that list into um, Claude,
Claude.
turned it into JSON, and then turned that into a little mini sortable app so that you could search for these agencies and stuff. So just a cool little trick for like market research and potential partners for the WP Minute. So, and I was testing that. The whole point of that was I was testing that against Manus, and I was just running out of free credits with
Hmm.
Manus because it was like doing all, instead of me doing that on 2 different platforms, Manus was doing that all in one.
Mm.
So, which Claude, I guess Claude could do as well, but I like testing out new things. Manus. Manus.im, if you're interested to check that out. Anything else, Mark, before we sign off? mgs.bio.
That's it from me.
You're doing a live stream today.
I am, as of recording this, yeah, in a half an hour with Andy Milligan. It's
He's
part
the
two. Last
Webflow guy.
Yes, he has a Webflow agency. Yeah, we talked a couple weeks back. We did a live stream on my channel talking about like Webflow experience and a lot of stuff he was talking about. And I think we're going to do one on his channel today, talking about kind of the WordPress stuff. So, kind of some of the things we talked about today, I think we'll hit on in there to some degree. So, maybe for the WordPress experts or experts of WordPress, I don't know, not going to be extremely valuable, but might be an interesting concept to hear. Kind of like Andy's perspective, and I think it'll be great for his audience.
I think you really got to beat him up about
Yeah, what should I tell him?
CPTs, custom fields, right?
That's my
The
thing,
edit,
but I think they
the
have a pretty good thing over there. I think
okay, yeah. I mean,
that's
like,
not the worst part of it.
no, it's not the worst, but it is the worst in terms of pricing because it does limit you to pricing on how many CMS items you have and
Mm,
how many CMS items you can store. At least the last time I checked the Webflow pricing, which was probably 6 months ago. And then user access to that. So I think a lot of people who start to begin to build out those sites um, also maybe have small-ish teams or more teams to like input that data. So then Webflow boxes you in with um, how many user accounts you can have per plan. And then, so there's that, but they're almost, similar in terms of like feature set. But like the blog, like the editing experience, ain't no. I mean, like maybe the site building experience is better, but like if you had somebody going in there to draft blog posts, it's freaking terrible unless it's been updated. It's like these. It's like you're writing blog posts in Adobe Photoshop. Like who the hell wants to do this?
yeah. Obviously, this is a huge topic, but just to skim this real quick, because I think this is the main point that I'm going to hit is, and God, God bless Andy. Like he's killer. He's doing his thing.
Yeah, he loves
But
Webflow.
everybody in Webflow. I mean, and this is just as an aside, like you can make money doing like anything, and like you could just do good stuff, like do good work. Doesn't matter your platform to a degree. Like, but like if we're talking like trying to be objective as possible about like WordPress, one interesting thing that came up. Andy sent me an agenda, right? And I think he was like putting in a bunch of different things possibly into ChatGPT and also like it was punching out a bunch of stuff of like Webflow versus WordPress. And what's interesting about WordPress, and I'm probably not telling anybody that's listening something that I don't know, but one thing that's interesting about WordPress is it does have cons, right? The
Sure.
platform of WordPress has cons. If you go into Grok, ChatGPT, or whatever, and be like, "What are the cons of using a WordPress website?" It's going to tell you some shit. But the interesting thing about WordPress is that the cons are avoidable. Like, you know what I mean? Like the cons are avoidable, especially once you get to a point where you understand WordPress and you understand how it works and you understand the idea of like hosting, like again, like the hosting course to tie back to that, like what's good hosting, what's bad hosting, what's going to make you rip your hair out, what's going to be fast based on your project and all that. Things like plugin bloat are like one of the cons that are often cited in WordPress. I've like literally never had that issue because I don't do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like there could be a con of Webflow, which is like, oh, it doesn't do something. That's not avoidable. It's like
Yeah.
if it doesn't do it, you can't make it do it unless there's something that I don't know about, like you have to create it yourself. That's way different than just adapting. I feel like the cons of WordPress are often mitigatable by knowledge and workflow. I feel like the cons of like other SaaS platforms and things like that are just less mature and just like more, more locked down or whatever. They're only mitigatable by possibly like physically adding more stuff to it, like in the terms of an add-on or some sort of plugin or whatever they call it, maybe. So
Yeah.
I don't know, just one motif that I found there that I think that I'll try to hit on a little bit. See what Andy in the chat has to say.
Grok says limited. What are the cons of using WordPress? I asked. Limited customization for complex sites, which is, I think, the
What?
positive of WordPress. So, okay, Grok. I'm glad everyone's getting trillions of dollars for AI. Performance
Mm,
can be slow without optimization. True. Security vulnerabilities if not updated, like everything else. Plugin conflicts and compatibility issues. Okay, yeah. Like just if you were building if you were freaking fixing your leaky faucet and you were putting the wrong pipes together, yes, conflicts.
mhm.
Steep learning curve for advanced features. Agreed. Hosting and maintenance costs can add up. Yes, but so does everything else. And bloated code with some themes and plugins. Once again, make the right decisions, and you don't have to worry about that stuff. That's the episode today. Thanks for hanging out today, Mark.
Appreciate it.